AITA for refusing to help rekindle my girlfriend's friendship with our neighbor after she refused to help her in an emergency? Am I the asshole? Throw RA flat issues. NTA greater than she says she was just setting boundaries, and so is the neighbor by distancing herself as a result of these boundaries. People really think they can treat people however they want and then get upset when they suffer the consequences as a result. If Lotta wants to rekindle her friendship with the neighbor, Lotta should talk to her herself. Andromache 97, 2049. NTA, good for you for recognizing that it wasn't your job to mend the fences that Lotta broke. She might be good and kind in most instances, but in this case she doesn't know how to admit that she was wrong and apologize to the right person. Sounds like she's mad at everyone but herself. I'm also on the neighbor's side. This was a small test of friendship for Lotta and she failed it. She didn't want to be inconvenienced, which is fine, but now your neighbor doesn't want to be inconvenienced by befriending Lotta. B. Jackson, 2612. NTA, greater than this was a medical emergency, not her wanting to go clubbing with her friends. I told Lotta that she didn't teach our neighbor a lesson. She only added stress she didn't need. That's it right there. This is so horrible to do to someone. Because Lotta was busy. That poor 5-year-old was exposed to further trauma by having to go to the hospital and potentially witness their baby sibling being poked and prodded and probably have tubes shoved down their throat. I really hope Lotta doesn't want children of her own. Or maybe I do, because then she will realize what a total she was to this poor woman. Linzard Snort 6. 8027. Wow, your GF is cold. Sure, she didn't have to sit for your neighbor. But your neighbor has now seen that she is a cruel person who cares more about boundaries than helping out friend in an emergency. Her friendship is gone. She cared more about whatever she was doing at the time than helping out a mother whose child stopped breathing. She was even going to pay her. Honestly, I wouldn't lift a finger to help her repair her situation. She can be cruel to people, but then she has to live with the outcome. Not creative at all. 16. 1217. NTA. She denies help to a woman whose baby couldn't breathe and now wants you to make the woman be friends with her again? Your GF is a sociopath. The friend is never going to forgive her, trust her or like her ever again because she was checks notes too busy to help when her baby was in danger of actually dying. Yeah, that friendship is toast. And maybe make sure your GF is not your emergency contact. Ninja hiding in the open. 765. NTA Lotta needs to learn that setting boundaries has consequences. In this case, her boundary will forever be ingrained as a negative part of your neighbor's trauma. Your neighbor will never forget the day she almost lost her child. So she will never forget the callous downstairs neighbor that refused to help her. I cannot see her ever wanting to interact with Lotta again, tbh. And it's not your responsibility to fix Lotta's mistakes. Greater than has always been on the more quiet and reserved side, but also incredibly kind and conscientious of other people. XA0 time to reassess that. Not sure I would have a great deal of respect left for a partner that shows no compassion in an emergency and then acts entitled for your approval, who also in retrospect cannot see the error of her ways and expects you to fix the problem for her. Then when you do her favorite thing, set a boundary, she calls you an Get away from that toxicity. Doktor_Seagull 358. NTA obligatory. Of course no one owes anyone else babysitting, but how completely stone cold heartless can you be with a lady who thinks her baby might be dying and has to go to the ER? I would be reconsidering my relationship just based on a lack of empathy on your GF's part. That's just not the kind of person I would want to be with. Plus her wanting to foist off on you the work of repairing her, setting boundaries. Antizana. 479. AITA for not pretending that a gift was from my ex-wife or reminding her it was the kid's birthday. Am I the asshole? Thick Act 1444. 4. How is it your fault she hasn't got her own daughter's birthday locked in? Hell. I can remember B-days from distant friends and old colleagues. NTA, remind her that parenting is a 50-50 job, you did your half. She's just angry she dropped the ball and is looking for someone to blame due to guilt. For your daughter's sake, it would help to maybe let her know mom is stressed with working like most of us now, and an adjustment to her lifestyle has affected her ability to be present sometimes. Worm_vessel. 5070. She gave me a call pissed. She called me a asshole for not reminding her at the minimum, and that I could have pretended a gift was from her. NTA. You are no longer married, nor her social secretary, nor her get-out-of-jail-free card. She's an adult. And if she disregards her kid's birthday, it's on her. I feel for your daughter. But it's not her or your fault. If her mom wants a relationship with her, she needs to do at least the minimum, which apparently she's an utter failure at. Befuddled polydactyls. 654. NTA. How does someone who carried a child for 9 months and birthed her forget the day their child was born? She's TA. Ungainly rhino. 155. Obviously the ex's sensibilities are irrelevant. The child's well-being is the real concern, while a cover-up might have been a band-aid to bigger injury being inflicted. Kids seeing an uncaring parent for who they really are creates more resilience for when it is needed most in the teens and beginning of young adulthood, where emotions already are a volatile cause of turmoil. We don't want them to be disappointed and hurt or being alienated from a parent. But we don't want them to be unable to handle it when there is no positive change forthcoming. Consider therapy if there is none at the moment. Scenarioing. 771. She was invited to the party and is mad you didn't remind her to show up? How many others received reminders? NTA. But she sure is. Therapy for your daughter needs to start soon. And for your other children if it hasn't already. Stidic. 120. NTA. It's not your job to cover for her. If she can't remember when her own child's birthday is, then she deserves whatever ire her kid throws at her for that. It takes zero effort to put a calendar reminder in her phone. She even got an invite to the party, which should have been all the reminder she needed. X is just mad that her daughter has receipts for any future claims that she wasn't there for her kids when they were growing up. XA0. Fluffy_sheepy. 69. NTA. I am raising a grandchild whose mother has been indifferent to him his whole life. I spent a long time protecting him and reminding her of events and deadlines and what was going on his life, including buying presents to be to her from him. He was about your daughter's age when he asked me to stop all of that. He knew full well that his mom wasn't all that interested in him. And me trying to remind her of everything left him not knowing what she did care about and what she didn't. So I did what you did, and I stopped. If this is typical of your ex-wife, keep a good track of your kids' feelings. It's not unusual for kids to blame themselves when a parent is neglectful like this. They think if they were a better kid, mom would love them the way she is supposed to. It might not happen with your kids at all, but you need to be aware of the possibility so you can help address that if it comes up. This one is entirely on your ex-wife. Own_lack_4526. 15. AITA for telling my cousin that she is no longer allowed to be a bridesmaid in my wedding because she wants to bring her boyfriend, who is my ex, and I don't want him there? Quote, am I the asshole? Opposite_analyst_118. Tell her instead of a +1, you are going to invite her previous boyfriend. That won't cause her any issues, right? Donut disturb. 118. NTA, it's your wedding and you get to decide who attends. I think it's fine for her to have asked you, as you did end amicably with him, but she should have accepted your no straight away, as it's your wedding. If she comes back to you and says she is sorry and leaves the matter alone, then you might decide to keep her as a bridesmaid. If she continues to bring this up and continues to be angry, then I completely understand why you wouldn't want her as a bridesmaid anymore. Louise's 1987. 1022. NTA, you can invite who you want to your wedding. I wouldn't want an ex I was friendly with at my wedding. My husband actually decided that would be a rule for us both when we were making our guest list. It wasn't an issue of jealousy or any worries about the exes. We just didn't want to look out at the crowd while we were up at the altar and see someone we've had sex with before. It was just nah. I'm not sure how you're setting up your tables, but we're set at the front of the room with our wedding party and their SOs. So they're in all our pictures during the dances, toast, and dinner. I would not want my ex, who is a date of my bridesmaid and not in what seems to be a serious relationship yet, in my pictures. I do see her side that she wants to bring her, so that makes total sense to me. But maybe she should just come as a guest and bring him that way? You definitely should have thought about this before you asked her. I don't think she should be kicked from the entire wedding, but it may be more constable for all if she's not in the wedding party. Sometimes sits a monkey. 287. NTA, your wedding. Your guest list. End of discussion. I am curious though, as to how on earth could an ex that you say you parted with amicably possibly overshadow your happiness on the day that you marry someone you are completely in love with? Or is it your fiancé who is bothered by an ex being in attendance? Diazes underscore in my hair. 4609. NTA, they just started dating and it's your ex. What is she thinking? Also, please tell me she at least checked with you before getting with your ex. If not, I am wondering why you're bothering to invite her at all. Midnight son of a bitch. 169. NTA, your wedding. You can invite, or not invite, anyone you want for any reason. If your cousin can't respect that, then she can find something else to do the day of the wedding. 7 hours 0 WN. 82. NTA, your cousin is entitled. You have no obligation to invite drama into your party just to please her. President Togakis. 96. AITA, for getting my disappointed son a Slurpee? Am I the asshole? Resident Soup 9839. NTA, you don't need to justify a fucking Slurpee. Your husband must have had a bummer of a childhood. Neutral underscore guy underscore 9. 6169. NTA, your kid did learn how to deal with disappointment. He did had to process his feeling about not saying this attraction. And what your son learn is that he can always count on you to be an attentive ear when something is wrong in his life. And that while you can't fix the whole world for him, you will always try to make it better. I think you did a good job. Irrelevant Manatee. 1899. NTA, when my husband has a bad day, I like to pick up his favorite candy drink on my way home for him. Not because he expects me to, but because I like to do nice things for people I care about. In the real world, your son will probably have several people throughout his life do small gestures for him, i.e. buying the Slurpee when he has a bad day. You weren't teaching him to expect gifts when he's disappointed. You were doing a small, sweet gesture for someone you care for. If anything, you re-teaching your son that going out of your way to do something kind, even something as small as getting a Slurpee from the gas station, can mean a lot to people and is a nice thing to do. SXRXH Bender. 280. Sounds like your husband may be going through a hard time, or he grew up with hardline parents. Either way, you are NTA op. Fireball XLV. 441. So, you son, at age 8, articulated clearly that, while there were some cool things he saw and enjoyed, he still felt really disappointed that he didn't get to see the thing he'd been excited to see for a while. I mean, sounds like he handles disappointment just fine to me. Better, in fact, than some adults. I don't see rewarding that kind of behavior as a bad thing at all. NTA. Toxic Redox. 131. 1. NTA. Yes. He needs to learn to manage disappointment, and you shouldn't rush to try and fix it whenever he's disappointed. But there's nothing wrong with a small treat every now and then. And as you noted, adults do this all the time, and often go for things much more harmful than a frozen sweet beverage. I bet more than anything your son was happy that you even noticed, and the walk to from the store was probably the best part. Divinanity. 107. NTA. Let me get this straight. Son was sad. Son came to terms with it and mom made it a better day. He's upset you made your son happy? Weird, but okay. Yes, you're absolutely right, because all adults treat themselves, me included, so why should your son be an exception because dad wants to make this into a life lesson? At 8 years old? Geez. He sounds like he has a screwed view of the world if he's trying to teach a life lesson about disappointment to an 8-year-old. Let him have a childhood at least before her husband ruins him with his screwed vision of the world. At least he has an amazing mother there for him no matter what. You are doing great, mama, so don't stress about the little things. Confident Try 20. 165.